If you're short on space or you're tight on a budget and you want to get into sim racing, then a wheel stand might be a great option compared to a full sim chassis because it is a lot less expensive and it takes a lot less space. And at this point, you might not have anything at all, just a wheel, pedals, and a dream. That's where something like this, the Next Level Racing Wheel Stand Lite, comes into play. At $150, it's not going to break the bank. You can see it has a pretty small profile, and yet it's going to hold your wheel, your pedals, and even a shifter on a very, very small budget, allowing you to get into sim racing. But over time, your love for sim racing grows, and soon this seems like not quite enough. You want a more immersive, real-life racing experience in sim racing. And now, thanks to Next Level Racing, you can take this to this, the Next Level Racing Victory Seat add-on for the Wheel Stand Lite 2.0. Until now, this entire package was only available as the Victory Cockpit, and those who own the wheel stand were unable to make that upgrade until now, because the back half, the Victory Seat add-on kit, is now available, turning the wheel stand into a full cockpit. Welcome to the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and today we're checking out the Next Level Racing Victory add-on for the Wheel Stand Lite 2.0, which we've already reviewed. And while today's focus is on the Victory add-on, I should note they are a package deal. You can't use the Victory add-on without the wheel stand. Previously, Next Level Racing sold the Wheel Stand Lite on its own for $150, and then you had the Victory Cockpit for $300, but you had no way of adding the add-on to the stand, which they now have available, and that's what we're covering today. So for that additional $200, you can add the back half to the Wheel Stand Lite, and I know that costs you $50 more in the end, but it means that you have that upgrade ability. You can start off with the wheel stand and then add the add-on, or you can look at it as a whole cockpit and save $50. The $199 Victory Seat add-on is a huge transformation to the Wheel Stand Lite 2.0 on its own. I mean, it turns it into a full cockpit. You've got a fixed back racing style racing seat. It's on adjustable sliders. The seat itself is covered in a mix of faux leather and suede-like material, which not only looks good, but should also hold up well over time. Along with the seat, the kit also includes the two lower tubes that actually connect the rear half to the front half. In addition, a huge upgrade, which might not seem like a lot, but it really is the new optional shifter mount right here now. Instead of right here by the wheel, it's down by your side where the shifter mount belongs. Putting the add-on together is a breeze, thanks to clear instructions and all the necessary tools included in the box. The process starts with assembling the new back support tubes, which connect using two different bolts. Next Level Racing also throws in a handy metric measuring guide, a small but surprisingly useful bonus that I'll definitely be keeping around. After that, you attach the two new feet to the base, which match the original wheel stand's feet. Once that's done, the back half of the chassis is bolted to the front using 8 more bolts, bringing everything together. Then comes the seat itself. The backrest is initially folded down with the back closed up. Flip the back up into position, open up the back, and find the sliding bars secured with zip ties. Simply snip those ties, slide the bars into place, and lock the seat back into position. After that, you can just close up the back and make sure both sliding rails are fully forward. This lets you bolt down the front of the rails to the chassis, then slide the seat forward to reach and secure the back 2 bolts. Finally, there's the shifter mount. Since I prefer having the shifter down by my side, I removed the original mount and installed the new bracket in one of the 3 possible positions on the right-hand side. The shifter plate then bolts onto this bracket, completing the setup. All in all, it took me about 10 minutes, and look at it. You've got a complete racing chassis. It's got everything you need, a good solid wheel deck, pedal deck, and a shifter deck, an adjustable seat as far as position goes, and it's adaptable to just about any kind of gear. So when it came down to mounting my gear, it went down just like when I did the wheel stand. Starting off with a wheel deck, it is pre-drilled to fit all common wheelbases, and after securing mine with 4 bolts, I was ready to move on. The deck height and angle are fully adjustable, allowing for a custom fit to your specific needs. Moving down to the pedal deck, the design is brilliantly versatile, fitting virtually any pedal set with a variety of slot positions. For smaller pedals, you even get a bit of front-to-back adjustment to fine-tune the setup. With 4 bolts, my pedals were mounted and locked into place. Truth be told, only 2 of the holes actually lined up with my pedals, but it actually held them down fine. As a standalone wheel stand, I actually didn't like the shifter position. It was way too close to the wheel, way too far forward and high, and the optional shifter mount is a really nice bonus. And just like the original one, it's the same plate, so it has the same adaptability to just about any or most of the shifters on the market. So after a couple of more bolts, my shifter was in place and I was ready to race. In my mind, the typical user of a rig like this is somebody who's just getting their start in sim racing. They probably don't have all their equipment. They might not have even dedicated the space to sim racing just yet. So to get in that mindset, I just slid this right up to my desk because I figured that's a typical situation. I mean, the field of view wasn't perfect, but it was a great starting point. Focusing on the rig itself, let's start with the wheel and the wheel deck. The Victory add-on provides excellent adjustability for height, angle, and distance with the seat. There's plenty of vertical range and just enough tilt adjustment to dial in a comfortable driving position. I just needed to slide the seat back to get it right, but I was very happy with how natural it felt. The wheel deck itself was surprisingly solid for a rig in this price range. I actually think the back half add-on stiffened up the wheel stand quite a bit. Side-to-side movement was virtually non-existent, and the chassis stayed firmly planted, no noticeable hop or instability. With that said, there was some slight front-to-back flex, which was visible in footage, but not something I noticed while driving. You can force that movement by pushing or pulling on the wheel, but realistically, that's not something you'd do in normal use. For testing, I'm running a Moza R12, and Next Level Racing rates this rig at up to 10 Newton meters of power, but I'm throwing 12 Newton meters at full force at it, and I gotta tell you, it held up quite strong. Now, sticking with the theme of a beginner-friendly setup, I paired the rig with a $100 monitor stand from Next Level Racing, and mounted a budget TV onto it. This actually brought everything together nicely, giving me a solid cockpit feel with a proper FOV. The lightweight nature of the full chassis also makes it really easy to reposition. Mine is on carpet sliders, but without it, the feet have plenty of grip to hold it firmly on the ground. Moving on to the pedal deck, I wouldn't call it super rigid, but it's definitely strong enough for most pedal sets. I tested it with the SimMagic hydraulic pedals, which are high pressure and easily worth more than the chassis itself. Even under heavy braking, the rig stayed in place and felt surprisingly sturdy. Now, while reviewing the footage, I did notice a bit of flex in the pedal plate under maximum pressure, but in real-time driving, I wouldn't have even guessed it was happening. Another thing I spotted was a slight lift in the wheel deck under the hardest braking, meaning the entire chassis reacts under extreme force. That's something to keep in mind if you're going to run high-end pedals in the future. The new shifter mount is a big improvement over the standalone wheel stand's placement, which was right next to the wheel, and I found it almost unusable in that place. Now it's in a proper shifter position and feels in line with the rest of the rig in terms of strength. The shifting felt great, though close-up footage did reveal some minor flex in the mount. This is a great add-on for such a low-priced rig. Finally, the seat. At first glance, it looks like any fixed-back racing seat, but it's actually a lightweight, minimalistic version. The synthetic covering has a premium look, but it's built for durability. The padding is thinner than other Next Level Racing seats, but it's positioned well where it matters. The seat has some natural flex. If you're not sitting in it, the back will wiggle slightly, but once you're in, it does firm up. And under hard braking, there is a bit of flex in the seat back, but it feels sturdy enough to handle stress long term. Comfort-wise, the back support felt good, but the seat base is relatively flat, which led to some discomfort over long runs. For example, I ran about 3 hours, and at the end, I had a little bit of numbness going on. Nothing terrible, but it could be a little bit more comfortable. Raising the front slightly with some washers could help alleviate that by giving it a little bit more angle. At the end of the day, I gotta tell you, I was a little bit surprised. Despite its low price, the Victory add-on, or the Victory Sim chassis if you want to call it that, really checked all the boxes. I mean, I was able to get a very comfortable driving position. I was able to mount some very high-end gear and get some solid results out of its driving performance. And all of the areas where it really does have deficiencies, you'd really have to spend nearly double or triple the cost to cure that by going to a much more substantial rig. This has a small footprint, it's easy to move around, and that's going to keep it in that perfect zone for beginners who might not have all the room, the luxury of all the space of somebody who's going to have a much more substantial dedicated rig. And that is the Victory Seat add-on for the wheel stand Lite and everything that I can think of to tell you about it. But let's go ahead and make sure it's really clear. We're going to go ahead and break it down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good, and that being very affordable sim chassis. Very adjustable. Lightweight, only 53 pounds. Strong enough for DD wheels. Pre-drilled for all common gear. Improved shifter location. Small footprint. Upgradable. Start with just the stand. Good race driving position. And now on to the not so good, starting with that fixed back racing seat. Small amounts of flex and wiggle. No longer fits in the closet. Seat is a little flat on the bottom. Angle adjustment. And now on to the bottom line. The Next Level Racing Victory Chassis or Victory add-on with the wheel stand Lite is now officially my favorite beginner rig out there, and here's why. Starting off with the price, whether you're talking $250 buying it as a kit or $300 if you build it over time. It's as cheap as no-name budget rigs that you're going to find on Amazon or some shady website, and it gives you all of the features of a much, much higher sim racing chassis, so it is very impressive for what it is. I mean, this is as little as you can realistically spend on a sim rig, and it far outperforms its price tag. Strength and adjustability are very important to me, and the Victory chassis gives you a whole lot of that for that price point. Again, it gives you more adjustability than some rigs that come in at a much higher price tag. The rig is sturdy enough and versatile enough to fit any driver and support just about any gear. My testing proves it can grow with you, from entry-level wheels to high-torque direct drive setups with heavy-duty load cell pedals. Just think about it, in the same Next Level family you have the GT Racer. It is $100 more than this even if you bought it piece by piece, and this gives you more adjustability and is just about as strong in a smaller footprint. And another thing that I really love, and this is really for the people that are beginning sim racing, is just the upgradability. So maybe you're sitting there playing a console, Gran Turismo on the controller on your couch. That's great, but you want to step it up. Being able to just get a wheel stand when you're already looking at having to buy a wheel, pedals, maybe a computer upgrade, all of that is a lot of money, and getting into a rig might put it over the top. Being able to get a wheel stand that's going to hold that wheel, it's going to hold those pedals, and even a shifter, allowing you a little bit of financial freedom to get a better wheel or make that computer upgrade so you can really make that leap into sim racing. And then, as you upgrade your gear, you can add the back half later without starting all over. Now let's be real, this is a starter rig. It is nowhere near as strong as a $1,000 rig, but I can tell you what, it gives you 90% of the adjustability, it gives you a genuine sim racing or real racing cockpit feel, and it does it at a much, much better price, which again allows you more money to put into your wheel, pedals, and computer upgrades. So for $199, the Victory upgrade to the Wheel Stand Lite 2.0 completely transforms it into an entry-level full cockpit. It's not the most rigid setup out there, but for budget-conscious sim racers who want to be able to upgrade over time, this is one of the best options out there. So I hope you've enjoyed our review of the Victory Seat add-on kit for the Wheel Stand 2.0. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out. And thank you for watching. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.